Hello and welcome to another Giant Slayer TFT How to Play video. Today our analyst will be diving into how to play Astro Sniper. This is one of the new builds that popped up in the mid-season update that's actually been doing well. Keep in mind the patch is new, so builds are still evolving as players get better at them. We'll go over the general how to play for the build with a separate section for Galaxies, as those are special circumstances. Let's get into the video. But before we begin, please don't forget to click the links in our description. Give your support to everyone who helped make this video happen. We host many TFT tournaments with plenty of exciting content to come, so be sure to also follow our Giant Slayer TFT social media pages. Okay, let's get back to the video, and to begin, let's go over the core items for Astro Sniper. First, let's talk about the beginning carousel and item prioritization there. Sword and glove are currently two of the most contested components in the meta, and both of those are useful in this build. Going for them is good to do, that way you're not fighting for them in later carousels. Tier is another valid choice, as the build uses blue buff, so securing at least one tier early on makes it easier to make the full item later. Beyond those three components, the best option is going to be bow, as it has several uses. Overall, any component can be used in this build, so don't fret it too much if you're unable to get the exact component you want from the first carousel. Next, let's go over item priorities for each core champion. Jhin will be the main carry for the build, followed by Teemo, with Gnar as the third item holder. Jhin has a wide variety of items that are useful on him right now, most of which are made from sword. Deathblade and Runins is still a popular item combination for him, even with the change with Runins no longer dealing extra damage with Sniper. With the changes to Infinity Edge, it's useful to grab Last Whisper, since each auto attack is now a guaranteed crit. And lastly, for a damage item, you can always look to make a Giant Slayer, as it adds bonus true damage, which is always valuable. As far as defensive items go for Jhin, the standard options are strong, and those are Guardian Angel, Trap Claw, and Quicksilver. It is possible to run 3 offensive items, though usually 1 defensive item is advised. If you do go all offensive items, you need to be very diligent with scouting and positioning for your Jhin. Teemo's items are a bit more open, with the only must-have being blue buff. To pair him with casting his ability frequently, you can slap a Death Cap on him or a Morellonomicon. Lastly, for Gnar, you can go with standard defensive items such as Bramble Vest or Guardian Angel, as well as Warmogs, which now just gives a flat 1000 health. Thieves Gloves is always a viable option for Gnar, and also good for other champions in the build such as Wukong. Alright, with the items out of the way, let's get into the core champions for this composition. There are 4 core champions to the build in this composition, and those are Jhin, Teemo, Gnar, and Nautilus. With the addition of Astro in the mid-season update, it's incredibly easy to run Gnar and Nautilus as 2 strong frontline champions, which also makes adding in Teemo easy to do. This makes it easy to slot in another sniper to pair with Teemo, which means you'll want to make Jhin, as he's the best late-game carry Sniper has. So with those 4 core champions, you have a ton of options of where you can take the build. Gnar and Nautilus being Vanguard and Brawler respectively makes slotting in more frontline champions quite easy. By far the best is Wukong, as he provides additional CC and gives you access to Chrono. The current standard build for Astro Sniper at level 8 is Teemo, Nautilus, Gnar, Jhin, Wukong, Lulu, Thresh, and Karma. It is worth pointing out that it is an incredibly expensive composition, and as such, you can replace the 2 legendary champions with other options if your economy isn't strong enough to support finding them. Another variation of the build drops the Thresh and Karma to play 4 Sniper. Add in Caitlyn to get Chrono, with Wukong and Ashe for Celestial. Overall, this variation is a bit more damage heavy and less defensive, so ultimately it depends on what the other players in your lobby are doing. 4 Snipers is one way to counter Protector Aurelion Soul, for example. As mentioned, this build is quite expensive, so it can be difficult to find everything you need. In that case, you can play Vayne throughout the mid-game to hold on to Jin's items until you can find him later. Bard can also be used as a 3rd Astro early on in the game before you find Gnar and Teemo. Jace is a good stand-in for Wukong, or you can play a 2nd brawler such as Vi. With items and champions out of the way, let's go through each stage of the game, beginning with the early game. Early on, your goal is simply to play the best board you can. There's no specific champion you need to prioritize early on, though Nautilus is a fantastic frontline with another Vanguard, and an early Bard can help you get early levels without spending gold. As far as leveling goes, you want to play aggressively, since this build relies heavily on 4-cost champions. Going to level 4 on 2-1 or 2-2 is advisable, and level 5 by 2-5. The trick you can do during the carousel round is, if you aren't able able to make 10 gold, you can pre-level, which means you level up before the carousel round ends. This will make it so you hit level 5 going into the next round, which means your shop has a chance to roll 4-cost champions. It's not always going to net you an advantage, but there is a definite chance you get lucky and roll into one of the 4-cost champions you need. After you've leveled to 5, your goal is to save money and to get to level 6 by 3-1 or 3-2, whichever you're able to do comfortably. This always depends on how strong your board is and whether or not you've been win streaking. Leveling aggressively is one of the strongest options available if you're win streaking, as it can help you win by having an extra champion. Otherwise, you can just level normally. The early game is by far the easiest part of this build, so let's delve into the mid game where you're going to have quite a few important decisions to make. For starters, your goal in stage 3 is to work towards 50 gold and to try to aim for level 7 sometime between 3-5 and 4-1. The timing varies depending on how strong your economy is and whether you're win streaking or not. Make sure to buy any of the core champions you find, but in general, just play the strongest board available. Vayne is a good stand-in for Jhin, so building around her can be good, but overall there's nothing specific you need to play at level 6. Once you've hit level 7 is when you'll need to make a few decisions. If you're above 70 health and have 50 gold, you can easily play slow and continue focusing on leveling. Your goal is to be level 8 on 4-3, which gives you the best odds at finding all the 4-cost champions you'll need. If you're not strong enough and lower than 70 health, it may be necessary to roll at this stage of the game. Your priority will be to stabilize with either Teemo 2 or Jhin 2 and a strong frontline. As long as one of the two carries is 2 stars, you should be able to make your way to level 8. Ultimately, the decision to roll or fast 8 is determined by your health, economy, and strength of the other players in the lobby. Because this build is so expensive, it's really important to have a strong economy in the mid game. And now, we're going to move into the late game. This stage of the game will be around stage 5 after Raptors, and you'll want to focus on upgrading any champions you haven't yet. Look to pick up Lulu when you can, and also Thresh if you're playing that build variation. Once you've stabilized and hit all the necessary upgrades, you can begin pushing for level 9. As far as what you play at level 9, you have a few options. Janna can be a great late game option because of the attack speed buff she can give your champions, but be careful if there's anyone running 4 Mystic. Thresh can bypass this by pulling Janna from your bench. Urgot is another great late game champion which benefits from Thresh pulling him in, as he'll cast as soon as he's pulled. Legendary champions are really strong right now in the meta, so you really have your choice of what you want to play at level 9, though Thresh 2 is one of the best options. In general, the late game is all about scouting and positioning. With the mid-season update, there's a new threat to worry about alongside the typical infiltrators Blitzcrank and Zephyr. Urgot can one-shot any champion with his ultimate even if they have a Guardian Angel, so you need to be aware of where enemies are positioning him. His targeting is based on his auto attack range, so try to keep Teemo, Gnar, and Jhin away from him, especially if Jin's your hard carry. The strength of this build is really about the Astro champions, as they open up a lot of champion and trait combinations. The weakness is definitely the reliance on 4 and 5 cost champions, so try to play it in games where you have a strong early game. One last section to talk about is Galaxies. This won't cover all of them, just the relevant galaxies that affect the build. First up is the Nicoverse. This galaxy is definitely one of the strongest for this build, as you can instantly get a 2-star Jhin or Teemo. While Gnar is a core champion of the build, he's not your priority for getting 2-starred, so save your Nico's help for the other 4-cost champions. Both are strong enough to stabilize you in the mid game. It's also a good galaxy to pre-level to 5 on 2-4, as you want to increase your chances of finding both Jhin and Teemo. Next, let's talk about the trade sector, which has been notoriously used for reroll compositions. While you won't be using this galaxy to reroll, it does help you find the champions you need with the free roll each round. On top of that, if you level aggressively early, you're increasing your odds to find a 4-cost by a lot, as you'll have 10 champions in your shop with the reroll. Treasure Trove can do wonders for Astro Sniper, as you'll be able to fully deck out your Jhin, Teemo, and Gnar with items, with likely a few extras to spare for your other champions. Alongside with increased items, you'll have a lot more gold to work with, which is incredibly useful for how expensive this composition is. Little Legends and Medium Legends are opposites for this build. What this means is that in Medium Legends, you're going to have more time to find all of the relevant champions and upgrades for this composition, whereas Little Legends, you'll have much less time. You can still play Astro Sniper on the faster galaxy, but you'll need to play more aggressively. This means leveling early and rolling on 7. Medium Legends, on the other hand, is great for playing slow and aiming to fast 8 on 4-3. In general, Medium Legends is the better and safer option for playing Astro Sniper. And the last galaxy to talk about is the Super Dense Galaxy. For most of the games, the extra champion won't matter that much, but where this galaxy truly shines is in the late game. Once you've hit level 9 and have access to 10 total champions, this opens up a ton of options in regards to what champions and traits that you can play in in the build. For example, if you're up against heavy magic builds, you're going to be able to fit in 4 Mystic quite easily. Or if you need more frontline, you can add in extra Vanguards or Brawlers. Or Celestial becomes an option as well when you have 10 total champions to play with. Overall, having 10 slots available at level 9 opens up a ton of possibilities for the late game potential for Astro Sniper. That's going to be it for today's video, folks. Astro Sniper is a strong meta build right now that really showcases how great of an update 10.12 has been. There's a ton of options available to you with 3 Astro champions, so play flexible and try out different strategies. Let us know in the comments section below if you've been climbing with Astro Sniper or the variations of it. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying our content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future GiantSlayerTV videos.